"You'll never match up to him in bed," she mocked during an argument. So I stopped arguing and walked away. Now he's gone, and she's pathetically calling me back. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I've always been the kind of guy who believed in loyalty above everything else. If I'm with someone, that's it. I'm all in. No flirting with other women. No keeping my options open. No games. I thought that kind of devotion would mean something, especially when I met Samantha. When we started dating, she made me feel like I was the luckiest man alive. She was charming, funny, and gorgeous in that way that turns heads when she walks into a room. I wasn't the most exciting guy out there, but I was steady, reliable, and she used to tell me how much she loved that about me. I did everything I could to show her I was serious. When she was short on rent, I covered it without a second thought. When she wanted to go back to school for a certification program, I picked up extra shifts so I could help with her tuition. I didn't buy new clothes for myself for months because I was helping her get ahead. My friends used to tease me about being whipped, but honestly, I didn't care. I was proud to be the guy who put his girlfriend first. To me, that's what love was supposed to look like. Showing up, being dependable, making sacrifices. For a long time, I thought we were solid. We spent weekends cooking together, watching movies, going on little road trips. She'd fall asleep with her head on my chest, and I'd think, yeah, this is what forever could look like. But slowly, things started to change. It wasn't anything dramatic at first, just little comments here and there. Like if I surprised her with dinner, she'd say, "Oh, Derek used to take me to this place all the time." Derek being her ex-boyfriend. Or if we were at a party and I was being my usual reserved self, she'd laugh and say, "Derek could light up any room. You're so different." I brushed it off at first. Everyone has a past, right? I figured she didn't mean anything by it. I told myself I was just being insecure, that she was with me for a reason. But over time, the comparisons added up. Her texts got shorter. Her enthusiasm to see me dwindled. She started spending more nights out with friends and fewer nights with me. I'd ask if she wanted to do something together on the weekend, and she'd say she was too tired. But then I'd see pictures on social media of her out at a bar the same night. It hurt, but I told myself people go through phases. Relationships aren't always perfect. I thought if I just stayed steady, if I just kept showing up, she'd remember why she chose me in the first place. One night, though, I noticed she didn't even look at me the same way anymore. We were sitting on the couch, and I caught her staring at her phone with this little smile. When I asked who she was texting, she rolled her eyes and said, "Relax, it's just my friend." But the way she said it, the dismissive tone, the fact that she wouldn't even show me the screen, it made my stomach twist. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to so badly. But something in me knew that the person I'd given everything to wasn't giving even half of that back anymore. Still, I held on. Because that's who I was. The guy who didn't give up. The guy who believed in fixing things, not throwing them away. Looking back now, I realize I was holding on to a version of her that didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never really was that person at all. Maybe I just wanted to believe she was. At the time, though, all I knew was that the woman I loved was slipping away from me. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't stop it. The small cracks in our relationship started to widen faster than I could patch them up. Samantha became colder, and not in a way that could be explained by stress or a bad week. It was like she'd decided I wasn't worth the effort anymore, but she was still keeping me around because it was convenient. Take texting, for example. In the beginning, she used to blow up my phone with messages about her day, pictures of random things she thought were funny, even just little "I miss you" notes. Now, I'd send her a paragraph and get a single word reply back 2 hours later. "Yeah, fine. LOL." When I asked if something was wrong, she'd brush it off. "Nothing's wrong. You're just overthinking again," she'd sigh. Like even having to reassure me was exhausting. Nights together started feeling like a chore for her. She'd scroll through her phone while I cooked dinner, laugh at something on Instagram, and barely touch the food. If I asked her about it, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Not everything's about you." And then, of course, there were the comparisons. Always back to Derek. Derek was so good at picking the perfect wine. She'd say if I brought home a bottle. Derek always knew how to cheer me up when I was stressed. She'd mutter when I tried to talk her down from a bad mood. Derek used to. I don't even need to finish that sentence. You get the picture. It was like living in the shadow of a ghost. A guy I'd never even met was suddenly sitting between us at the table every night. And no matter what I did, I couldn't measure up. The intimacy between us dwindled too. We went from being close and affectionate to her barely wanting to touch me at all. If I tried to initiate, she'd sigh and say she was tired. Sometimes she'd add a jab, like, "Not everything has to be about sex, you know." But then she'd go out with her friends 2 nights in a row, come home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine, and collapse on the couch without a word. I told myself I was imagining things. That maybe I was just insecure because of all the Derek comments. That if I held on a little longer, she'd come back to me. I even tried stepping up my game, planning dates, surprising her with flowers, trying new things in bed. But every effort was met with indifference. "That's nice," she'd say without even looking up from her phone. Or worse, "Why are you trying so hard all of a sudden? It feels fake." One night, she came home late, later than usual. I was sitting on the couch waiting for her, heart pounding, rehearsing the words I was finally going to say. "We need to talk. I need to know what's going on." But when she walked in, hair a little messy, lipstick smudged, she didn't even acknowledge me. She tossed her purse down, kicked off her shoes, and grabbed a bottle of water like nothing was wrong. "Where were you?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She didn't even look up. "Out." "With who?" She finally met my eyes, and the look she gave me was pure contempt. "Why do you care so much? You're not my dad. I don't need to give you a report." That stung. I didn't want to be her dad, obviously. I just wanted to be her partner. The person she could share her life with, not someone she treated like an annoying obstacle. But every time I tried to talk, it turned into an argument. She'd accuse me of being controlling, insecure, paranoid. "God, you're so uptight. Derek never cared if I went out." There it was again. Derek. Always Derek. At that point, I should have walked away. Any sane person would have seen the writing on the wall. But I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking like someone who had invested years of his life into a woman and didn't want to believe it was slipping away. So I stayed. I swallowed my pride, ignored my gut, and kept telling myself it was just a rough patch. But deep down, I knew. I knew I was losing her. The only question left was how brutal she'd make it when the end finally came. It happened on a Tuesday night. I remember because I'd come home from work exhausted, but I still stopped at the store to grab the ingredients for her favorite pasta. I thought maybe a home-cooked dinner could soften whatever wall had built up between us. She came in late again, tossed her bag onto the counter, and didn't even notice the food simmering on the stove. "Hey," I said gently. "I made dinner. Figured we could eat together tonight." She gave me a quick glance, unimpressed. "I'm not hungry." That was it. No thank you. No acknowledgement that I'd been standing over a stove for an hour after a 12-hour shift. Just flat dismissal. Something in me snapped. Not anger. Exactly. Just the realization that I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. "Samantha, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my tone calm. She groaned, already annoyed. "About what now?" "About us," I said. "About how you've been distant. About how I feel like I don't even matter to you anymore." She rolled her eyes and leaned against the counter like I was boring her. "God, you're so dramatic. Not everything has to be a big deal." "It is a big deal," I pushed. "You never want to spend time with me. You barely text me back. And every time I try to do something nice for you, it's like it doesn't even register. I'm not asking for much. I just want to feel like I'm still your boyfriend, not some roommate who pays the bills." Her arms folded, her face twisted with irritation. "You always need so much reassurance. It's exhausting." "I need reassurance because you act like you don't even care," I said. "Half the time you're comparing me to Derek, like I'll never be good enough. Do you realize how that feels? To constantly be measured against some guy from your past." That's when it happened. The words that would burn themselves into my memory forever. She smirked, tilted her head, and said, almost casually, "Well, maybe if you could actually match up to him in bed, I wouldn't be thinking about him so much." Silence. For a moment, I thought I must have misheard her. My ears were ringing, my chest tight, my hands frozen at my sides. "What did you just say?" I asked quietly. She shrugged, like it was nothing. "Don't act shocked. You've always known you're not exactly satisfying. Derek knew what he was doing. You don't. That's just the truth." The way she said it, with that smug little smirk, like she was proud of cutting me down. That was worse than the words themselves. My first instinct was to fight back, to defend myself, to yell, to demand how she could say something so cruel to the person who had been nothing but loyal to her. But instead, something in me went cold. I stared at her for a long moment, and then I nodded slowly. "I see," I said. My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't clench. I just let go in that instant. That's all I needed to hear. She blinked, thrown off by my calmness. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means we're done," I said. I turned off the stove, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the door. "Wait, seriously? You're going to walk out because of one comment?" she scoffed. I looked back at her. "No, I'm walking out because of everything. That comment just showed me who you really are." Her jaw dropped slightly, like she hadn't expected me to actually leave. "You're being ridiculous." I didn't answer. I opened the door, stepped outside, and closed it behind me. There was no yelling, no begging, no fight. Just silence. And in that silence, I realized something. She had finally made it easy for me. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I regretted leaving, but because the words kept replaying in my head. "You'll never match up to him in bed." The kind of insult that hits a man where it hurts most, meant to cut deep and leave scars. But instead of bleeding, I just felt numb. It was like she'd finally ripped away the last illusion I'd been holding on to. The next morning, my phone lit up with her messages. "Samantha, can we talk?" "Samantha, I didn't mean what I said. I was just mad." "Samantha, please, let's not throw away everything over one fight." Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her later that day. Not because I wanted her back, but because I wanted closure. When I walked into her apartment, she was sitting on the couch, arms folded like she was bracing for a lecture. She started before I could even sit down. "Look, I shouldn't have said what I said last night. It was low, okay? But you have to admit, you were pushing me. You always want to talk about feelings and problems, and sometimes I just snap. It doesn't mean I don't care about you." I stayed standing. "That wasn't just snapping, Samantha. You meant it. You've been comparing me to Derek for months. Don't pretend last night was some isolated slip." She huffed, rolling her eyes. "Why are you so sensitive? Everyone says things they don't mean in fights." I tilted my head. "So you don't think telling your boyfriend he'll never measure up to your ex is crossing a line?" "God, you're so dramatic," she snapped. "You're really going to end things over one stupid comment." I let her rant. She kept going. "You're making a mistake. Derek always had more passion, more everything. But he couldn't commit. That's why I chose you. Because you're stable, safe. And now you're throwing that away because your ego's bruised." Her words hung in the air. She looked almost smug again, like she thought she'd put me back in my place. I finally sat down, leaned forward, and said quietly, "Samantha, listen to yourself. You just admitted you settled for me. That's not love. That's convenience. And I'm not going to be anyone's backup plan." Her eyes narrowed. "So what? You think you're too good for me now?" I shook my head. "No, I just finally realized you're not good for me." I stood up. She scrambled to respond, her voice sharper now. "Fine, leave. Go ahead. You'll never find someone like me. Derek always had more passion anyway. You'll never be him." I grabbed my keys. "You're right. I'll never be him. And thank God for that." I walked out again, this time knowing I wasn't coming back. After that day, I went completely no contact. No texts, no calls, no stalking her social media. I just erased her from my life. It wasn't easy at first. There were nights I stared at the ceiling, fighting the urge to message her, to demand an apology that would never come. But instead of reaching out, I channeled that energy elsewhere. I threw myself into the gym, into work, into hobbies I'd neglected. I started reconnecting with friends I hadn't seen in ages because I'd always prioritized her. For the first time in years, my life was mine again. Meanwhile, word started to spread. Mutual friends mentioned she'd gotten back with Derek. Apparently, the guy she'd been comparing me to all along was the same one she ran back to as soon as I was out of the picture. At first, she flaunted it. Her Instagram was full of pictures, dinners, parties, captions like, "Finally happy," and "Real passion never dies." It stung, I won't lie, seeing her smiling with him, acting like I'd never existed. But every time I felt that twist of jealousy, I reminded myself, she told me to my face I'd never measure up. Why would I want to compete for someone like that? And then the post slowed down. The smiles faded. The pictures disappeared. A mutual friend filled me in. Derek was the same guy he'd always been. Unfaithful. Hot one minute, cold the next. He cheated on her within 2 months of them getting back together. And just like that, Samantha was left exactly where she'd started, only this time, with no loyal boyfriend waiting in the wings. She tried to save face at first, posted vague quotes about self-love and new beginnings. But eventually, even that dried up. By the 3-month mark, she was practically invisible online. I, on the other hand, was thriving. Work was going better than ever. I'd picked up new skills, new friends, and a confidence I didn't even know I had. People started telling me I looked healthier, happier. And they were right, I was. The best part? I didn't have to lift a finger to get revenge. I didn't have to expose her, trash talk her, or chase her down. Karma took care of everything for me. And that's when the texts started coming. First, it was small. Samantha, hey, how are you? Then, I've been thinking about you lately. Then, I made a mistake. Can we talk? I ignored every one of them. But she wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. At first, her messages were almost polite. Samantha, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I miss you. Samantha, I'm sorry about the things I said. I wasn't thinking straight. I left them on read. A week later, she got bolder. Samantha, Derek wasn't what I thought. He's not stable like you. I should have appreciated what I had. Samantha, we were good together, weren't we? Can we just talk one last time? I didn't reply. Then came the late-night calls. Voicemails full of tears. I messed everything up. I thought I wanted passion, but what I needed was someone steady, someone who cared. That was you. Please, don't shut me out. Her desperation grew with each unanswered attempt. Samantha, I can come over. We don't have to decide anything, just talk. Samantha, I'm sorry. Please give me another chance. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same woman who once mocked me for being too sensitive was now the one crying into her phone, begging for comfort. And for once, I felt nothing. Not anger, not longing, just clarity. It all came to a head one Saturday afternoon. I was at the gym when she showed up in person. I didn't even know she knew my schedule, but there she was, standing near the entrance like a ghost from my past. Ryan, she said, breathless, like she'd been rehearsing the moment. Please, just hear me out. I crossed my arms. You've been texting me for weeks. I think I've heard enough. Her eyes were red, makeup smeared. I made a mistake. I thought Derek was what I wanted, but he used me. He broke me down. You never did that. You were always good to me. Please, Ryan. I can change. I shook my head slowly. Samantha, you didn't just make a mistake. You told me to my face I'd never measure up. You don't take something like that back. Tears welled up, spilling as she grabbed my arm. I was angry. I didn't mean it. I swear. I only said that because I wanted to hurt you in the moment. You're better than him in every way. Please don't give up on us. I gently pulled my arm free. You already gave up on us the moment you compared me to him. You don't come back from that. Her face twisted, desperation flipping into bitterness. So what? You're just going to throw away years together? Just like that. I met her glare. No, Samantha. You threw it away. I'm just finally walking away from the trash. That one landed. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Then, with one last glare full of anger and tears, she turned and stormed out. And just like that, she was gone. The weeks after that were the quietest of my life, and I mean that in the best way. No angry texts. No late-night voicemails. No more drama. Samantha finally stopped trying, and I never looked back. I kept growing. Work gave me a promotion. My body was the strongest it had ever been. My friends started introducing me to new people, not in a dating sense, just reconnecting me to life. I realized how much I'd missed while wasting my energy on someone who never truly valued me. One night, I scrolled through my old photos. There were hundreds with her, trips, dinners, holidays. And instead of feeling sad, I just felt free. Like I was finally detached from the version of myself that accepted less than he deserved. People sometimes ask me if I'd ever take her back if she showed up again, promising she'd changed. My answer's always the same. No. Because the truth is, once someone looks you in the eye and says you'll never measure up, that seed of doubt never really goes away. And I refuse to live my life proving my worth to someone who should have seen it all along. Samantha got what she wanted, her passion, her excitement. and she got the crash that came with it. Me? I got peace. And honestly, I think I came out on top. Because the best revenge isn't proving her wrong. It's living a life where she no longer matters. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.